We saw that tweet, Mr. Trump. You going to stand by it?
Well, of course I'm standing by it. It was vetted. They went to the Washington Post. Fox News went out in great detail and looked for it, and there's no such video. And they may make one up, knowing the Clintons and knowing Hillary, but there's nobody. She just made it up. I mean, she made it up. It was a soundbite, just like Bernie Sanders lied. I mean, he went out and said things that never took place. I didn't say that about Mexicans. I have great relationships with the Hispanics, and I didn't say what he said. You know, they make up things in the world of politics. They're all talk and no action. They're politicians.
You sure you want to go? You sure you want to go down that road? The fact checkers have called you out on more false statements than any other candidate.
In advance.
Oh, I'll go down that road, and, you know, people maybe call me out, but they turn out to be wrong also. And many of the things I've said, and I think just about all of them, they may have been controversial at one point, George, but they're not controversial in the end because people start to say, you know, Trump's actually right. And you go into illegal immigration, everybody now is coming my way with illegal. I've been 100% right as far as crime is concerned, as far as the economy is concerned. I've been right on more than anybody else has been right by a
you've never come up with a video of those thousands of people cheering in New Jersey on 9/11.
Oh, there were plenty of people cheering, believe me, and I've come up with plenty. And the Washington Post wrote a story that they tried to retract, and there were many other stories written, and a lot of people, thousands of people, have been calling and writing and emailing. Many people saw it, and it was in New Jersey, and it was also all over the world, George. So there's an obvious problem, because all over the world, and you're not even disputing that, but people were celebrating all over the world, and I think it's disgusting.
There were people celebrating in the West Bank. There were not people celebrating in New Jersey as far as any evidence we have seen. But I do want to move on.
Of course there were, George.
Right
there were articles. George, there were articles written about it. There were people celebrating. And, in fact, if you look at the famous Washington Post article that he tried to retract, there were articles written about it. Don't tell me that. There's no reason to apologize. There were people celebrating. When the World Trade Center was coming down, there were people celebrating, George.
Around the world. Let's move on to Vladimir Putin. You got that praise from Vladimir Putin this week, called it a great honor. You also said you've always felt fine about Putin. How can you say you feel fine about Vladimir Putin when he backs our adversaries like Bashar Assad, when he backs Iran, when he invades Ukraine?
I have been an extremely successful deal maker. That's what I've done over years. And I know people, because deals are people. And I think I'll get along very well for the good of our country. For the good of our country. This is what I want. Make America great again. I believe I'll get along fine with Putin. I believe I'll get along fine with other leaders. Obama doesn't get along with Putin. Putin can't stand our president, and it's causing us difficulty. And frankly, and I said it a long time ago, if Russia wants to bomb the hell out of ISIS and join us in that effort, I am absolutely fine with it. I think that's an asset, not a liability. So if Putin respects me, and if Putin wants to call me brilliant and other things that he said, which were frankly very nice, I'll accept that, and I'll accept it on behalf of our country. Because if we get along well with Russia, that's a positive thing, George, not a negative thing.
Well, you want to get along well with Putin, but you seem to be alienating some of our allies. You said that Angela Merkel is ruining Germany. And here's what David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, had to say about your proposal to ban Muslims.
I happen to...
Is it wise to be praising our adversaries and alienating our allies?
George, yeah, I know you're having a lot of fun this morning, and so am I, if you want to know the truth. The fact is that we have a problem, George. You don't have to admit it, because I know you want to be so politically correct all the time. You don't have to admit it. But we have a problem, and the problem is a very serious problem. You have a radicalization of people. They happen to be Islamic, and you have the radical Islamic terrorism problem that our president doesn't even want to mention. He doesn't want to use those three words or any one of those words, and because he's not mentioning it, we're never going to solve it. Unless you know what the problem is, you can't solve it. So we have a serious, serious problem where you look at what happened in California last week, you look at people flying airplanes into the World Trade Center, you look at many other things that have been happening, not only in this country, but around the world, including in Paris. There's a problem, George. You have to address it. And if you're not going to address it, the problem's going to get worse and worse. People have to turn other people in. People knew what was going on in California. People knew what was going on. Other people, outsiders, friends of theirs, knew what was going on in Paris. Those people don't turn them in. Why don't they turn them in?
Well, they should turn them in. I agree with you on that.
Well, they should turn them in, but they're not going to turn them in with attitudes like your attitude. People won't turn them in. People are just going to go along the way. We have to solve a very serious problem. And if you don't want to talk about it, or if you think it's politically incorrect, that's your problem, not mine.
One final question about Vladimir Putin. When you were pressed about his killing of journalists, you said, I think our country does plenty of killing, too. What were you thinking about there? What killing sanctioned by the U.S. government is like killing journalists?
Well, I think, number one, I think Hillary, when she was Secretary of State, made some horrible, horrible decisions, and thousands and even hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. I mean, you look at what went on in Libya. You look at so many bad decisions that she made. She's incompetent, as far as I'm concerned.
That's
you
not
look at
killing
her
by
age,
the United States government, though, is it? That's not the same as ordering a killing.
As far as the reporters are concerned, obviously, I don't want that to happen. I think it's horrible. But in all fairness to Putin, you're saying he killed people. I haven't seen that. I don't know that he has. Have you been able to prove that? Do you know the names of the reporters that he's killed? Because you've been hearing this, but I haven't seen the name. Now, I think it would be despicable if that took place, but I haven't seen any evidence that he killed anybody in terms of reporters.
Here's what Mitt Romney tweeted about that. He said there's an important distinction here. Thug Putin kills journalists and opponents. Our presidents kill terrorists and enemy combatants.
Does he know for a fact that he kills the reporters? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows that. It's possible that he does, but I don't think it's been proven. Has anybody proven that he's killed reporters? And I'm not trying to stick up for anybody.
There have been many allegations that he was behind the killing of Anna Politkovskaya.
They are allegations. Yeah, sure, there are allegations. I've read those allegations over the years, but nobody's proven that he's killed anybody, as far as I'm concerned. He hasn't killed reporters.
So what killing has the United States government done?
George, excuse me, let me finish. If he has killed reporters, I think that's terrible. But this isn't like somebody that stood with a gun and he's, taken the blame, or he's admitted that he's killed. He's always denied it. It's never been proven that he's killed anybody. So, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, at least in our country. He has not been proven that he's killed reporters.
But then you said, I think our country does plenty of killing, too. What killing are you talking about there ordered by the United States government?
Well, take a look at what we're doing in the Middle East. We went into Iraq. We shouldn't have. You know that I was opposed to going into Iraq many years ago. In 2003, 2004, there were headlines in Reuters that Trump is opposed to the war because you're going to destabilize the Middle East. I said, if you do this, you'll destabilize the Middle East, and Iran will take over. Very simple. Iran will take over Iraq. That's exactly what's happening. And on top of that, we have ISIS, which is another problem and another complicating factor. Now, we should have never gone into Iraq. When we left, we made a mistake. We made a big mistake with Libya. We've destabilized all these places. We now have a migration with thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people that don't know where they're going. I mean, it's a terrible thing. We have been run by incompetent people, incompetent politicians. They don't know, and that's probably why I'm leading so high in the polls, because people are tired of seeing very, very stupid and very, very incompetent people running our country into the ground. In the meantime, we owe $19 trillion, soon going to be $21 trillion, and we better get our act together fast, George, because our country is going down if we don't.
Your comments seem to suggest a moral equivalence between the United States and Russia. Is that what you believe?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying when you say a man has killed reporters, I'd like you to prove it. And I'm saying it would be a terrible thing if it were true. But I have never seen any information or any proof that he killed reporters, George. You're just saying he killed reporters. You and other people tell me he killed reporters. I don't know that he killed reporters. I haven't seen it. If he did, I think it's despicable. I think it would be horrible. But you're making these accusations, and I don't see any proof. And by the way, he totally denies that he kills reporters. He totally denied it.
I'm still waiting for the evidence that we've been directly involved in killing people as well. You made your points about Iraq, but I do want to move on.
Take a look at the rampage all over the place. And you know what we've gotten for Iraq? We've spent $2 trillion, okay? We've hundreds of thousands of people killed. We've lost thousands and thousands of our great young people soldiers. So $2 trillion. deaths, wounded warriors. We have nothing. And Iran is now taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. And I said, don't go in, but I said, when you go out, take the oil. And I've been saying that for 4 years to you and others. And we were so incompetent, we didn't even get the oil. You know who got a lot of the oil? ISIS got a lot of the oil. That's who got the oil. And now Iran is taking the rest of it. They're going to get the lion's share because we don't know what we're doing. We're run by people that don't have a clue.
And Iran has been backed by Vladimir Putin. I want to ask you a final question about Iowa. The New York Times has a story this morning saying your organization
Iran has been
is
backed
lagging.
by us. You know why? You know how Iran has been backed by us? Because we made one of the dumbest deals in the history of deal making when we gave them $150 billion. We have 24-day inspections, which don't start for a long time, and they can self-inspect, and we don't even get our prisoners back. So don't tell me about Iran being run by Putin. We let Iran become, it's a terror nation, and we let Iran become really powerful. And by the way, they don't need to create nuclear because they now are so rich with $150 billion, they can go out and buy it directly. So we're the ones that have really empowered Iran, not Russia. Russia's certainly doing their damage also. But we, through sheer stupidity of a deal, one of the worst deals I've ever seen negotiated, we are the ones that truly have empowered Iran, and it's a disgrace.
We've empowered Iran more than Russia has?
George, we just made one of the worst deals I have ever seen in deal making. I'm not talking between nations. We don't even get our prisoners back. And now, after the deal is made, they want to start talking as a new deal to get our prisoners back. And they want a lot for the prisoners, for the 4 prisoners. And then, by the way, they say we're not going to give you 4.
And the Iranian negotiating position was backed up by Russia.
Hey, you know why? Because Russia's making a lot of money with the deal because they're selling missiles and other military armaments to Iran, and they're making a fortune on it because they're smart. Because they're smart. You know what we're getting from that deal? Nothing. Russia should want them to make the deal because Russia's selling armaments and they're selling missiles, beautiful new modern missiles. They're selling them to Iran because our people don't know what they're doing. So, of course, Russia